Hello, my delicious co-creators. Lilou here. I'm in beautiful Paris with Marc Levy, that you probably recognize. I have the honor to interview him today in Paris in French for his new book that just came out, L'Horizon à l'envers. This book will be out in English probably in 2018, you were saying. But you wrote, I mean, this is your 17th book, and people know you internationally because you've been, I mean, they've been translated in I don't know how many languages, probably over 30 languages. No?
49.
49, oh my goodness. Well, so we did this interview, the French version, more on neuroscience and consciousness, and even here you're in this book, the people that have, one person has this near-death experience. So I'm very much intrigued, and I would like you to expose your point of view, or why you decided to have this theme in several of your books, actually, and what led you to this in your own, writing one book after the next. In the last 16 years, 17 books, that's not bad.
Thank you very much. Now, writing for me is a matter of pushing the limit of your imagination and entering in a world, not a world of fantasy, but a world where fictional characters becomes, real, and you're attached to them, and you like them, and you love them, and you love their story. I would say that I've always loved to tell the story of ordinary people who are confronted to an extraordinary situation, which is going to transcend them and change them and make them evolve. And the whole purpose of the book is to understand the evolution of those characters and how you relate to them, and how you feel connected to them, and how sometimes you can share with them the question that they're asking themselves. So it's more that the second thing I would say before I conclude on your question is that for me, writing is such a matter of freedom, that the way to protect this freedom is to never let myself write in one genre. And I've always loved to experience multiple genre of story. So I wrote thrillers, romantic comedies, fictions, sometimes with, I would say, extraordinary events in the story, and sometimes with more ordinary events. All of them have to be, for me, a journey. So the reason why this book talks about that was because I was fascinated and very interested by the relationship between what I would call the letter and the envelope. Who are we? Are we the letter or the envelope? So if one morning you wake up in another body than yours, who are you? Yeah. And how the people related to you are going to look at you and love you. Are they going to love you in the same way? Yeah. And that's, I think, is a wonderful subject for a novelist. Yeah.
Have you ever been surprised in your own life by this love or this attraction beyond the appearance, or even finding information beyond the appearance?
Somehow, yes. Let me give you an example. If you're a doctor and you live in a village, you're going to be the doctor, and a very, very big part of your identity is going to be connected to the fact that you are the doctor of the village. One day you decide to quit. You're not the doctor anymore, and you change village, and you're not the doctor anymore. Who are you going to be? It's a whole. Your whole identity is going to be rebuilt. So the way you think, and the way you act, and the way you behave. So. If you take my personal life, I started to write. My first book was published when I was 39, and from a day to another one, I was not the man that I was before, and I became a writer. And it was a very, very interesting experience, because for many years I have tried to understand, not to be trapped, by. The writer attitude, and to keep some distance, because I had the chance to have a life before, and so I knew that life is not an attitude. It's not the envelope; it is the letter. But it's not so evident. It's not so easy, not to be trapped in the envelope.
Yeah, you have to be very, but it's a question of, I guess you have to, when you write so many books like this, you have to constantly question things and continue to be in imagination and find new topics. How do you live this life of writer? Does things come to you, or do you create them? Do you invoke at times? Do you intend, or is it something that you might even believe that there is such a thing as destiny? How do you create this life? If you feel you're a creator of your life?
I always had this idea, which is not engraved in marble and can be changed, that destiny, it's a question that life asks you. And your destiny is the way you're going to answer to that question. Or I might say in a different way, destiny is the crossroad. But your own destiny is, which road you're going to take. And there is not one crossroad, there is multiple crossroads in your life. And the mystery of life is that no one, not even yourself, can predict, which will be your path and which road you're going to take at each crossroad of your life. But I still think that there is something which, designed the crossroad. But that's just, my personal thought, and it's definitely not a truth by itself. It's just the way I think. Now, the question about the writing process, I think that at the contrary of what I'm doing now, the first thing to write, it's to listen instead of talking and look instead of showing. Because life has much more imagination than all the writers of the world, and the small things of life. And imagination, there is a big difference between an idea and a story. An idea, it's the sparkle. A story might born from an idea, but an idea might stay an idea for a very, very long time. To transform an idea into a story, you need to be possessed by characters who are going to take this idea and make it into a story.
I've heard this several times, and even with one of your book, actually, that another author said, "Oh my God, I had this idea, this exact same idea. I had this exact same characters and how all this was gonna unfold." So, where do you think all these ideas emanate from? Does that really emanate from our brain, or there's such a thing as this huge cloud where people pick up idea and it kind of like this one was picked up by Marc Levy and boom, put in a book, what this imagination process, how does this work?
There is a wonderful, I don't know if you like the TED Talks. I'm a huge fan of the TED Talks, and there is a great TED Talks about that, the idea that there is a cloud and about, creation, which was done by a bestseller author in America, and she was wonderful because she was explaining how she was talking about the creation process, like if the creation was a kind of an angel being there, and talking to you at a certain time and not talking to you at another time. It's probably true, but it's not enough. I think that it's work. Mm-hmm. No, but it's work, and it's really work. This so-called white page syndrome. You have to accept when you write to stay in front of your, of your screen or your piece of paper for many hours, and it's not white page. It's work. I mean, your brain is working. Yeah.
But the idea might be available to many, and there's this one inventor. There's this one person that will put the pattern. There's this one writer. Isn't that interesting?
Well, it's great, because otherwise, I mean, if one idea belonged only to one person, the global, worldwide creative process would be very poor. The amazing thing is that what I told you before, an idea is a sparkle, and the same idea, you give the same idea to a musician, to several writers, to several directors, and you're going to have multiple way of treating this idea and multiple, a lot of different creative process. Take I would say the arch of a thriller or a romantic comedy. It's basically all the time the same. I mean, if I take the arch of the story of a romantic comedy, you know from the very first beginning that they're going to end up together. The whole story is, what, impeach them to be together, and to understand what will allow them finally to be together. So if you take a Western, it's almost all the time the same story. If you take, how do you say in American, un policier, un roman policier, a detective story. Mostly, all the time. I mean, the fundamentals are always the same. There is a murder, there is a weapon, there is an assassin, and there is a policeman or a detective trying to find who killed, and what. It doesn't forbid to make hundreds of different stories with the same skeleton. So the creative process is not just the idea that falls from the sky. It's how our personality, our cultural background, our emotional background are going to transform such idea into a story and make characters alive.
I'm asking that question too because of the topics that are in this latest book that will come out in 2018, but about consciousness. What is really consciousness? Where is that? What is your thought about it?
I don't know. It's it's a huge mystery. I mean, one of the. To put your question in context, the three main characters of that book are three students in neurology at the MIT, and they work on the brain and they work on consciousness. And their dream is that you might transfer the consciousness of an individual into a computer, make a backup, so that the time to repair a body and to reinject the backup of your consciousness either in your own body or in the body of another one whose conscious is dead. And so the idea is, instead of the idea that one day we could transplant a brain like we transplant a heart, that it might be smoother to transplant directly our consciousness. So of course it brings up the question, but where is our consciousness, which the science community doesn't know at all. And we don't even know if it's located in one place of the brain, or if it's the whole electrical flux of the, do you say flux? Electrical connection in the brain, which carry everywhere our consciousness. Big question is there a part of our consciousness related directly to our physical, to our body? So I don't know. But the whole fantasy of the book is to have those scientists answering for me.
Yeah, and you plugged in, and you've done your research. You've worked with neuroscientists on this.
I did, because when you write a fiction, there is a French writer that I love who said once, this story is true because I invented it from the beginning to the end. And what it means is that you absolutely can, and of course, it's mainly the job of a writer to invent, to create a fiction, but everything around has to be true. Everything around has to be real, except what is not. So yes, I talked with a lot of scientists and researchers, and learned a lot to make it possible.
Well, thank you so much for this delicious interview. I guess, do you have anything to say to all the people watching this, from all around the world? Because I guess it's not every day, that we have this opportunity to kind of, I loved, the fact that on the internet, it goes to the four corners of the earth at once, and it has an impact,
No, but I think that, one of the things which has been a huge privilege for me as a writer is the chance to travel all over the world and to discover the differences of others. And I think that what has the most influenced my work as a writer has been this appetite, this fascination for this love of the difference of others. Because you can really, the difference of others can either scare you or can be an amazing source of learning and making your own difference more enlightened, more beautiful. And the reason why I have lived all my life in different countries, and that I left my own country and traveled all my life was because I had this appetite of understanding the story of others.
Do you feel like there's I'm just going to ask you that as a last question because I have so many with you. It's like, but do you think it's like you're doing the full loop? I mean, it's a full circle. I mean, from being first at the Red Cross and working for many years there, and then as an architect, and now as a writer. Is there some things? Is there an understanding that what you have learned before is you're using it now, and it's kind of like once we're on our life purpose, if that might be a big word, but you're finally everything has a meaning, and then it makes sense what you had to go through to now write this book today?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not enough interested by myself to have ever asked me this question. I like to look ahead, not.
In the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think the past gives you.
It shapes us, but it can hold us back too.
No. But I think that from the past, I mean, you have to be. You have to embrace from the past and to take with you all the emotions of the learning, all the humility that you get through your life, all the things that you have learned from others. I think that, let me put it this way, as we talk about neuroscience, there is one thing that I'm absolutely sure, physically speaking, our crane is almost spheric and cannot expand. And inside that crane, you have a brain, which is definitely limited by the size of our head. So now you can fill this brain with humor and interest for others, or you can fill this brain, with all about me. I'm not going to judge, but statistically speaking, the people who have filled their brain with humor, interest for other, uncertainty, have had a much more fun for themselves and for others than the one who pretend that they know everything about everything. So I try always to keep that in mind. I know that the amazing journey of life where you meet other peoples, where you try to understand before you judge, and why you try always to reconsider your point of view, wondering what is the point of view of the others, is a wonderful way of going through your life.
And it creates new neural pathways too, and neuroplasticity is quite a big topic now.
Yeah, because it shakes you and your ideas every morning.
Yeah. And it creates new possibilities, or at least you choose maybe a better possibilities than the first one. Thank you, Marc.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Much love. Bye.